I'm Natalie.
I'm Aneita.
And we're here to continue the series on relationships that we're doing on the weekends. So last week we heard from Mark, Scott and Sam about marriage. I'm not married,
No.
You're not married, but we are friends. So we're here to talk today about friendship. So
Yes.
we don't know what we're going to say. We're not quite sure what will come out. This is just a conversation between friends about what it means to be a friend. So we'll just kind of see what happens, and hopefully it'll be semi-useful and helpful, and let's just get to it. So, first off, do you think it's important to actually have good friendships?
110%.
I know, 120%.
Such a big part of your life, in the sense where the support and the encouragement, especially from a close net of people, it just kind of brings you up in life. And if you don't have that, you feel so isolated and lonely. And I guess it's a relationship in a sense where your family can't kind of meet those requirements either.
Yeah, there's definitely some things. I've got a great relationship with my family. Some things that I don't want to talk about with my parents, but would talk about with a friend.
Having a friend there,
yeah, so important. So, Aneita, have you ever had to navigate a challenging friendship?
Unfortunately, yes. I've had.
I hope it wasn't me.
Natalie, we didn't talk.
Oh, okay.
I've had a few challenging relationships in my time. One huge example I can think of was I was just freshly 18, so my life was, opening up with all these new possibilities and responsibilities in life. And I got close to this friend I met through church, actually. And later down the track, I felt she became too dependent on me, but it took a toll on me mentally and emotionally, because I noticed the burden that her dependency is on me, like the burden that, because of that. And I wasn't ready to confront her about it. I wasn't ready to bring it up, because I'm not a I won't go and confront someone. So it just got worse and worse and worse, and to the point where she was constantly messaging me, asking me where I was and why I wasn't hanging out with her and why I was with other people. And so it just kind of all bottled up, and one day it just exploded. So I didn't obviously handle that correctly or good. Yeah. I should have probably talked about it when it first started, just so I didn't bottle up. But navigating friendships are hard, especially ones where your friend has a few mental health issues or insecurities are there, and there's always things mixing together. And
we've also got our own insecurities and often our own mental health struggles that we're going through as well, which just when you put it all together, it can be really hard. Friendships are hard. Let's be honest. Let's just be straight up honest. Friendships are hard, and they take a lot of work.
Yes, from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be mutual. And I think
two-way street.
For me, that's where problems have come up in the past with difficult friendships, in that often feeling like it's not really mutual. I guess I want to invest in that more than maybe they do, and so it's kind of this constant, you're the one reaching out all the time, and they're just reciprocating, and then you start to not do so well in yourself, and then you sort of lose that connection, and then you feel I feel really guilty. I'm like, no, I should be asking them how they are, but at the same time I'm starting to burn out, and I just can't maintain that.
And those through that, insecurities arise, because why won't they talk to me? Why won't they hang out with me?
What's wrong with me?
Exactly. It's hard, because self-doubt comes, especially in these circumstances, and you get guilty, and that's all you think about. Your mind races 100 miles an hour, and it's oh my gosh, why do they like me?
What if they're, for me, but what if they're really struggling at the moment? I'm going, gee, I wish they would reach out to me for once. Exactly, and then going, I wish that they would contact me. So maybe what we actually all should be doing is doing a bit of a culture shift. We need to change from a space where you have to ask someone if they're okay in order to be able to say that you're not okay, to one where you actually, I can just message you and be like, hey Aneita, still really value you as a friend. I'm just really struggling right now, feeling exhausted.
Why?
And I'm sorry that I'm not checking up on you. I just don't have the energy for it, but I hope you're doing well.
We have these close friends who we say are our close friends, best friends, if you want to use that term.
Yeah.
but we're not comfortable with reaching out when we're struggling.
I know.
Like,
why?
Even when we're having a bad day, we wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Like,
I've only got one side to wake up on.
Yeah, well, in your case, fell off the bed. Like, we're not comfortable enough, I don't know, in ourselves or in our friendship to message them and be like, yo, like, I'm actually having a pretty bad day today, so if I don't talk or if I don't hang out tonight, then it's not you. Like, and again, that's where everything just builds up, and it's like the tension.
I know for me, like, this time last year, I wasn't doing so great. I was really struggling, feeling quite empathetically burnt out, and just sort of kept feeling like, hold on a second, I had all these friends, and I was reaching out to them like weekly, fortnightly. It was great. We were catching up, and then when I stopped doing well, like, there was just radio silence. And I was like, what is this? Like, have I done something wrong? And do they actually not want to spend time with me? Like, what is this? And I should have, like, just reached out to them instead, but it's just this feeling that you can't burden someone else with your problems without them inviting you to do so by asking how you are. And maybe we would all be carrying a lot less burdens if we just sort of said, hey,
if we just found that person or those two people that like you feel comfortable in or you trust in.
And I think there are different levels of friendship as well. You've got friends 100%. Like those friends where you're both like, yes, I really like the other person, I love spending time with them, and so I like, you both want to invest in it. And then you've definitely got friendships which are a bit more of a mentoring relationship, really, but still a friendship, a different sort of type. So you'll have friends where they'll feed into you probably a lot more than you feed into them, but you also have people that you probably feed into more than they give back to you. And it sort of, I guess, is about finding a balance of those and not having too many of those really either of the spectrum. You really want to have a lot more mutual friendships because they're the ones that are the most supportive and the ones that are, I guess, you're not going to feel guilty about as much and you can be real with.
I once had this youth leader that told me that there's kind of 3 types of friendship. And so you have a friend that's seasonal, so who has come into your life because of this season, and then you have a friend that I can't remember now.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
It's like not that, I think it's because you've grown up with them and it's kind of you've just done so many experiences with each other. And then the last one is the friends that you can see are going to be there until you die. Like
so friends of circumstance, friends for season, and then friends like actually, intentional friendships, I guess.
And once you told me this, like, I was 14 and I was so blown away by this wisdom. I was like, whoa, like, but I did the wrong thing. I immediately went home and got my pen and paper out and wrote down who I think fits in each of these categories. But upon, like, the years, I've realised that people can come into your life per circumstance. People can come into your life for your season, and there might be people there that are there for the long run, which we won't know, like God only knows that. But it changes, like people come into my life for seasonal that I can now see that is going to be there for the whole life, my whole life. Like, and cousins that I've grown up with or I've only talked to because of circumstances are actually now my close friends. Like, I think once we realise that there is a lot of change and a lot of fluency in our friendships, we kind of can get the sense of control over them. And I know you don't want to, it's not a negative control, but a positive control. So it kind of eases our mind a bit, so we're not racing, we're not thinking about all these things.
I think that's a really good point about, like, friendship. Sometimes, like, I don't know, at the start of the year I sat down, I was like, who do I want to be really intentional with? What's like 5 people that I want to be really intentional with this year, who I actually feel like it'll be a mutual relationship and that they've expressed interest in that friendship as well. And I wrote down those 5 people, and there may be half of, like, well, I can't do half, it's 5, but 3 or 2 or 3 of them I'm still really, like, connected with. And then others I still am connected with, I'm still friends, but they're sort of, like, not quite as close as what I was anticipating. And then I've got other friends who I didn't, like, expect to come across who are now on that list of people that I want to be really, it's not really a list anymore, it's just a mental sort of awareness of
mental check
of who's around me and stuff. And so and being willing to, you know, there's one friend on that list who I love dearly, I really do, but just because of circumstances it's really hard for us to navigate that friendship at the moment, just logistically, and so sort of having to be aware of, like, willing to let that go and being willing to, I still love this person and I still love spending time with them, and if the opportunity arises again in the future, like, for that, I'll take that. But at the moment, it's just
per season.
It's not exactly. It's something that I like. It's a bit of a grieving process as well, I guess, when you've sort of got to let go of a friendship for whatever reason. But it can actually be, I guess, sort of a freeing and good thing because it stops you feeling like you're a bad friend or they're a bad friend. So it's okay.
The blaming game.
Exactly. So, Aneita, in a time and a day when people can make a friend at a click of a button on social media, how do you think young people can cultivate, and any people really, can cultivate meaningful, good friendships?
So I've grown up with technology, so I'm kind of on the side where I'm an easy friend, click on the button person, but I think there's positive and negatives to that. Sometimes the negatives might outweigh the positives. But I think it's really important for, especially teenagers now, adolescents growing up, actually as early as year 3 kids, like, that they need to be in community. Like, looking back on my life, my close friends are coming from church, are coming from netball, are coming from, I don't know, school, like, and if these kids aren't present, like, mentally and emotionally in these communities, that kind of gap, like, is missed, where they're not creating deep and meaningful relationships with their peers or their netball team or their soccer team, whatever it is. And then
music,
and because they're too busy staring at their phone, like, they're missing these opportunities to create deep and meaningful relationships. So it's a hard line to go between because that's all they're used to now is, you know, on their phone and talking to their like friends online. But once they're face to face, it's like this social anxiety, or what do I say to them? But I think
how do I have a conversation?
Like, the main thing is, like, these kids just need to kind of bite the bullet and, I don't know, have that one person at school, have that one person at sport, wherever they are, whatever they do, just away from the screen. I think that's part of the thing really too, isn't it? Is that you can have heaps and heaps of friends and heaps of people that you're friendly with or that you know, but really you just want like a handful of really good people that you know are going to track with you and who you can journey with as well, and you can just be real with and share life and 100%. Ask questions about faith and ask like, you know, each other how you're doing, and not just take an answer of good or fine or okay and take it at face value, but actually kind of dig deeper and why are you doing great at the moment? Share that with me, or, you know, why is it just fine, or why is it okay? Or I had a friend who used to describe how he was feeling with like colours or just with random sounds, and so you can always gauge sort of where he was at based on that, which was just a really interesting thing. Keeps it.
But I mean, my favourite question is like, if your life was the weather right now, what would it look like? Like, it's just really weird.
Okay.
But like, it's a bit weird. I'm a bit weird like that, but that's the kind of stuff that I love. But I mean, as someone who hates technology and doesn't enjoy the click of a button friendships, I find it really hard because for me, I think trying to live out a friendship on an online platform and that online messaging and like written communication, I find really difficult because I can't see their face. I can't see when they're like, you know, you could be like, I'm doing great, and crying in the corner, and I would have no idea. But, and I also find it really hard to just be honest over Messenger as well, because it's not a platform where you can dedicate heaps of time to really digging deeper into what is being said, or like often if I have something I have to chat with someone about and it's going to take a while and it's not just like a one sentence thing, I'll just call them because I just can't deal with the back and Nina gets calls from me all the time in the middle of the day, no notice. I struggle with the waiting for the response, and it takes so long, and by the time they respond to it, and sometimes, you know, the question could be really simple as, how are you, or how could I pray for you? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that right now, or like honestly, over Messenger. Like, I don't know what I'm feeling, I don't know what I'm thinking, I have no idea what's going on, or I just don't want to say it via Messenger because I'm actually really struggling right now. And so I'll leave the message, like, not responded to for days when I feel terrible.
Wow.
It's not like I'm not intentionally trying to ignore you, I just don't know how to respond
particularly
to it, and it's
on social media.
Particularly. But if you were to call me and just be like, hey, Natalie, how are you going? How can I pray for you? Right there and there, I'd be able to tell you. But to message, I find that so hard. So I guess for me, I let my friends know that. Like I try my best to be like, I'm so sorry if I don't respond when you ask me a question, but it often means that I'm not quite sure how to respond, or I'm not doing too well, and a phone call might be better. But I also know that in this day and age, people are really scared of phone calls, and I used to be as well until I realised I hated messaging. And then I was like, well, phone calls is it.
What else?
Exactly.
Go back to the snail mail.
But I guess just like trying to use maybe things like Messenger, and I mean, I don't have Instagram and I don't even know what you do on it, but like just messaging on that or whatever, to actually organise times to meet up with people physically, face to face, abiding by restrictions, of course, to always do that, to have those deeper conversations, and to not, I think what's really helpful is to give yourself heaps of time. Like, don't sort of just go half an hour, because I find that I can have a 3-hour conversation with someone that wasn't planned, and it can be so good, and we can just talk about life, and like family and other friends and study or work and faith, and just have a 3-hour conversation about that, and pray together and maybe read the Bible together, and it's just, I come away from that feeling so energized and so encouraged, and just kind of like, yes, let's do it again. That was so fun. Or even like when you do see someone face to face, maybe it's about saying, hey, let's book in another time right here and now when we can meet up again. Like, let's say, 2 weeks today at 3 o'clock at this place. Let's do it. And then, message a couple of days before and say, we're still good for tomorrow, And I guess as well, what's for me is really important in a friendship is reliability. Like, if you make a commitment to meet up with someone, obviously there are things that happen that kind of change it, but like, be organised in that, and write it down, and make sure you've got it somewhere where you won't double book yourself, or you won't like suddenly go last minute, I've got something else has come up, because that can leave, like I've had that happen to me, and sometimes it's a legitimate reason, other times it's sort of is just someone's a bit unorganised, and that's okay, but when it happens regularly, you sort of are left feeling like, am I not valued?
It's that insecurity again. And I think social media is putting a lot of pressure on that as well, and insecurities and mental health, and feeling not comfortable or set in a friendship, because like I know, for examples I've heard from young kids and being at school, like at school you're in the playground at lunch, recess, hanging out with who you think your mates are, and you go home and on Facebook and Instagram and they're bullying you over social media, like, and then so you're back at school the next day and you're like, what's real, what's fake, like, are they,
it's interesting,
they don't like me, or do they like me, and they're only saying that stuff because other people are saying it, like, I think that puts a great burden on friendships, especially for younger people, like, they don't have the mental capacity to, I guess, navigate that stuff, and the feelings.
It can be hard to navigate, definitely. And I guess really part of, I guess, what is so important about friendships is you need to be a good friend, but I would also be hesitant to say that if you are struggling with friendships that means you're not a good friend, because I've had people say that to me, like, all through high school, through primary school. Primary school I sort of floated a little bit. I was just, here, there and everywhere. Didn't really have, gradually, I think towards kind of the later years of primary school, I had a couple of people, like a couple of best friends at times and stuff, and I'm still really good friends with particularly one of those still, and we've known each other since preschool, and it's great. But then, in high school, sort of had friends, but no one super close to, and I really struggled with that and got quite, like, publicly rejected by a whole group of my friends. And it was made really clear to me in that moment that, then they're not really my friends, and I thought they were, and I really struggled with that. And someone said to me during the argument, well, I can see why you don't have any friends or something, because we were arguing, and like that stuck with me. And now, even though like I try everything to be a good friend, if I feel like I'm being rejected, or I feel like they're not putting in as much effort, or they aren't as interested, I feel like, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. I must be doing something wrong.
It comes back to
because my thought process is, well, to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. So therefore, if I don't have good friends, I mustn't be a good friend, which isn't necessarily true. So, I mean, I would definitely say if you're really struggling with friendships, to maybe sit down and have a think about, well, what does it mean to be a good friend? And I think that might even be the next question. But to think about, like, what does it mean to actually be a good friend, and look at yourself and go, am I doing that, or is there an area I'm lacking in? And maybe you are actually doing a lot of the things that you're supposed to be doing, or maybe there is an area that's lacking and you can sort of go, oh, maybe I actually need to check in on people more, and I need to be personally more invested in them as well. But maybe, you know, it's also about having a conversation and saying, hey, I really value you as a friend, but I really am struggling, and I feel like you aren't as interested or as invested in this friendship as me. Like, is that the case? Are you just really busy? Like, how are you going? Is that affecting this? Like,
what are you feeling?
Like maybe it's just the person. Maybe that person that you're trying so hard to be a friend with is just not interested, or they've got too many other friends in other places, and they don't have the capacity to invest in all those friendships deeply. And I know people like that, where they're just so, you know, bubbly and everyone loves them, that they
extrovert.
Exactly, that they you know, there is a limit to what you are capable of and what you can do, and how many people you can invest in, because it is exhausting. It can be really like depleting of energy to do that. But maybe that means you need to stop and look around you and see the people who are actually reaching out to you first, and see if there are people around you who are actually trying to initiate a friendship, and you just keep pushing them back because you're like, no, I've got my friends over here. But maybe it's actually about saying, hey, actually, I'll accept that invitation, and I will now start nurturing that with you as well.
Shift the energy.
Exactly. And being really aware of who's around you, or maybe finding those people around you who are struggling with friendships as well, and make the first move, invite them out for a coffee or something, and see if they reciprocate. Because if they're really lonely, they might be like, actually, I just want a friend, and you know, you'll do for the moment, and then that might help to really cultivate a great friendship. You just never know. So I mean, look for friends in places you might not expect.
That's good.
I would say. And I guess one final thought on that might be that maybe the spaces where you are looking for friends aren't actually good spaces. Maybe they just aren't good. Like people who they're not good friends. They don't know what it means to be a good friend. They sort of just want to receive and to take, but not actually to give. And I'm not saying that every space is like that, or every single friend where you're struggling is like that. It might actually be that you're not doing something that maybe you should be doing, or you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. But have a think about maybe the friends around you, and are these people the types of people I want as my friends, or maybe I should be looking elsewhere for that.
Exactly, that's good.
So I think we've got one final question for thought.
We do.
What would you consider to be some of the challenges that young people are facing today in the area of friendship? I mean, we sort of covered that, but any other thoughts on that?
What did I say? Insecurities. I said that. Like, that's a massive one. Like, I know personally, because I've had such, I wouldn't say horrible, I don't know where that word came, but like not healthy relationships in the past, and I didn't kind of put them to rest in a positive way. I do have a few insecurities in terms of like friendships and stuff, so like feeling as if like just the constant thought that like I'm not good enough for them, or I'm not giving too much, or I could have said this, or I could have said that, or I could have offered to do this for them, like so some friendships I don't feel secure in the sense where I keep telling myself that I need to be better for them. When like you shouldn't have to change who you are for a friend. Like
no, I mean
for anyone.
You should be able to express your thoughts and not receive judgment for them.
Exactly.
You can be challenged on them for sure, but there's a difference between being challenged and being judged. Definitely. And in not being judged, you should be able to feel like you can be super bubbly, or you can be kind of shyer if you that's you know how you naturally are. You shouldn't feel like you have to pretend to be someone you're not. But I guess you need to be able to be yourself, but having said that, be your best self. So, if you're in a really unhealthy space, you should have friends who kind of help you and push you to get to a place that's healthier.
Support. Exactly.
And who are willing to call out, you know, Aneita, you keep saying this, and I don't think that's a really helpful thing.
Exactly,
I don't think it's not helpful for you to keep calling me a jerk. Like, not that you ever call me a jerk, but like, maybe please don't. Like, to be able to say to people.
And for it to be like reciprocated positively as well. For me, if Natalie was to say that to me, to actually be like, I've noticed him saying that. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
And for me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Hug it out when COVID's over.
You're becoming this big thing where it just tarnishes what's happening.
And you just gradually get bitter.
Exactly, yeah. And that's not a good friendship if that goes down that track anyway. Because there was no trust there, and there's no support there in any sense.
Yeah. And
if that's how it turns out to be. Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, be encouraging each other as well. Be like, Aneita, I just love how you genuinely love people. Like, you know, you can affirm people and encourage them. It doesn't have to just be calling them out and challenging them. And that's what a friendship is. A friendship is about loving unconditionally and challenging and encouraging and building up and constantly pushing them to, you know,
be better, be best.
To dream and to aspire the best for themselves, but also to help them get that and to see them also caring about others as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, you know, you want to draw out the best in people, I think
it goes both ways as well.
Mutual friendships are good.
Two street.
Yeah, two-way street. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you ever, like, in a relationship, like, we've said this, we've both experienced this, where it only feels like there's one path and you're kind of dragging them along.
It's exhausting. No. It's a great way to burn out if you want to
quickly.
Don't recommend it.
Hugely,
but I mean, on the note of everything we've been talking about, if you are feeling really burnt out with a friendship, or you're struggling with your own identity, or your own mental health, or maybe you've been navigating a friendship for a while with someone else who's had a lot of mental health issues and stuff, that's a part of life, and we don't at all want to kind of say that that's like, you know, it's their fault or anything, but often that can actually, because it's not, but often being in a relationship with someone, and this is my own personal experience as well, with someone who is struggling with their mental health can really affect your mental health as well. So please seek help if you need that, you know, see a counsellor, they're great, like 100% would recommend. Or if you're struggling with the concept of friendship or to find good friends, it might be good to bounce that off someone and to get someone else's perspective on maybe your own personality and your own strengths and weaknesses, and also just on your friendships as well. So definitely can encourage that as well. But
I think we're done.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for having that conversation on friendship with me, Aneita. It was great to catch up with you, and we hope that you found that really helpful and good. And I mean, go and build some great friendships, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.